We built this program in the previous class for conditional statements. In this class, we will learn about while loops in Python. Here, we first took a subject name input from the user. We then searched for that subject in the subjects list. Then, based on whether that subject is found in the list or not, we displayed two different messages to the user. If we run this code, it will ask for a subject name. Let us enter math. It says math is at position 2, and it stopped the execution. Now if we want to search for another subject, we must run this program again. Instead of this, if we want to search for multiple subjects, if we want the feature that the program will run continuously, we need a mechanism to repeat this code again and again automatically. That is exactly when we need to use a loop, like a while loop. So, in this example, we will put this entire code into a loop, so that it keeps executing repeatedly until an exit condition is met. And we can perform the search operation multiple times. Before that, let us do a cosmetic surgery on this input statement. We will combine these two lines of code into a single one. We can cut out this message and pass it in the input function. The input function itself will then prompt the user with this message. And whatever the user enters, will be assigned and saved into our subject variable. Input is a smart function, we don't need to call print separately. So, after we get the user input into the subject variable, we will need to start our loop. A while loop. While, then a pair of brackets, and colon. This colon starts a code block that will be executed in a loop repeatedly. So, let us indent each of these lines to bring them under the while loop. Be very careful about the indentation while coding in Python. There are two levels of indentation here. These statements have double indentation, as they are not just under the while loop, they are inside the if and else blocks as well. While loop takes a loop condition within these brackets. The brackets are not mandatory though, but they make it more readable. It takes an exit condition to come out of this loop. One possible scenario to determine when to stop the loop is, if the user enters X, in place of a subject name, the search operation should stop. We will use that as the exit condition here for our while loop. We will change this message slightly, enter a subject, and X, to exit. Then we will check, if the subject entered is X. So while subject is not equal to X. So, you can read this expression, or this statement in plain English, as, execute this block in a loop, as long as the subject is not equal to X. You can actually call it a loop condition. If the condition breaks, it will come out of the loop. Now, after we take the user input, and we run the loop once, we need to ask for the user input again, for another subject name to search. So, we have to copy this exact line, and paste it at the end of the while loop, as the last statement within this loop. We have to also indent this line, so that it comes to the same level of this if-else, and it gets executed in a loop under the while loop. So, we will now run this program. It will ask for a subject. Let us enter math. It returns, math is at position 2, and it is again asking for another subject name. It is executing this line. We will say, bio. Okay, again it is asking for a subject name. So we have now completed one loop, and it is running for the second time. Let us enter English this time. Then, maybe Geo. In this way, we can search multiple times as long as we want. And it will keep executing this, until it hits the exit condition, that is, X in the subject name. If we enter X, it will come out of the loop and stop the execution. Now in the loop condition for a while loop, we can also join multiple conditions, like we did in the if-else example, in the last class. From usability perspective, here it is better to check for X, as well as capital X, as the input. So we will copy this condition, and we will add one join operator, paste the same line here, and we will change it to capital X. You can read it like, as long as the subject is not equal to X, and the subject is not equal to capital X, keep executing this loop. If either of these conditions gets true, it will break out of this loop. Okay, let us run this code again. First, we will enter a subject name, maybe English. Now, even if we enter capital X, it will exit the loop and stop. I will also show you how we can write this while loop in another way, in another style. Here we are taking the user input before the loop starts, and we are also taking the user input at the end of each iterations within the loop. If you do not want to repeat the same code in two different places, we can do a smarter coding and write the input statement only once. Let us take out this statement from here. We have to place it inside the while loop, but not at the end. We will place it in the beginning. And we have to indent it as usual. Now, we don't need this check in the while condition. Let us change it to just true. Here, true is a keyword. It means the loop condition will always be true and hence, the loop will get executed infinitely, like an infinite loop. But we will manually exit from this loop upon the exit condition. We will check here, if the subject entered by the user is X, we will then exit. So, let us type a conditional statement. If subject equals to X, or if subject equals to capital X, colon. If either of these conditions is true, if we get an X, or a capital X, we will break the loop. So, we will say break. Here break is also a keyword in Python. If the program hits this line, the immediate enclosing loop will terminate. So the program control will directly go from here to outside of the loop statements. Let me explain again. We are in an infinite loop. We are taking the user input, and then we are checking if this meets the exit criteria. If so, we will exit from the loop. Otherwise it will proceed with the normal flow, and the same will repeat. Let us run this. We will enter math. Okay, we get the output. Then, let us try with something else. Well, maybe history. So, history is not found, perfect. We will try bio. Cool. If we now enter capital X to exit, the loop will end as expected. So, we learn two different ways to write a while loop. While loops are most helpful when we do not know beforehand how many times we need to run the loop, or when we need to execute a set of statements for an indefinite number of times. You can try the exercises given below. In the next class, we will learn about another type of loops, which is called for loop, and which helps us to iterate through a finite list of items or through a sequence. I hope you like this tutorial. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel.